We got another piece of news here that I want to touch on. It's actually a quarter scale figure. And I think a lot of people maybe don't care about this, but I want to ask the question. I want to see, we're gonna gauge the chat on this one. We're going to talk about quarter scale a little bit more in depth as well, because I really want to get down to the core, the foundation of what quarter scale is and whether people actually care about it or not. Because they seem to be discounted like nothing I've ever seen before from Hot Toys. No matter what the quarter scale figure is, it's like 30% off, baby, 40% off. Like you just have to wait. And your pop culture or sideshow, somebody's gonna discount that thing. So that said, the Dark Knight, the Batman quarter scale figure has released. Sideshow did an unboxing on it, a first look. That said, Ben, is this a miss, a hit, or really an irrelevant figure? What do you think about this Batman quarter scale?
That's a tough question. So it is a hit. I don't think it's for me.
Okay.
I've never owned a quarter scale figure in my collection. I think the price point on this was $6.99, if I'm not mistaken, something along those lines, anyways. While I think the figure itself looks phenomenal, the base is really cool. I love the different villain face sculpts in the base there. I think the likeness to Christian Bale is definitely really solid. Um, I don't think I could justify the price point, especially kind of what you just said. We often see these in the bargain bin at like significant decreases in price, and so there's no way I would ever justify paying full retail. But now with things changing with Sideshow stock seeming to like go away a little sooner than it used to, it's hard to advise people to wait for a sale, because if this is something that you feel like you need in your collection, then I think it's still a good price. I think it's still a good buy. Everything that you get with it, I like that they branded it the Dark Knight Trilogy, not specifically one film. So depending on what film you like the most, you can kind of set up your display that way. With the podium, or like with his base there, you can make it look more like a podium, like museum scale, with the like the gargoyle front as opposed to the other side if you wanted to as well. So you can kind of switch that up, which I think is neat. I think my only nitpicks when it comes to this figure, I did laugh out loud at one of the mouth plates,
Oh
the
yeah.
really pouty mouth plate. There's like just one particular photo that they showed, and it was like it made me laugh. But he did kind of make that face a lot in the cowl as well. I mean, Christian Bale was notoriously kind of animated when it came to his mouth. And the hair on the sculpt itself is really like darkly painted. Like he looks like he just kind of combed, just for men through his hair. Yeah, that middle one, that's a little bit like smelled the fart in the
It's
Batmobile kind of
exaggerated.
look.
Yeah.
Swear to me. Yeah. I do think it's cool. I don't think it's a miss. I don't think it's necessarily irrelevant either. There's obviously a huge community of people out there that collect quarter scale. I know there was a Joker that came out years ago. I don't know if I remember what that one looks like. I don't know if I would want to have just one quarter scale in my collection by itself. I think it would need a companion piece. I think a quarter scale Bane to go with this could look really badass. But I wouldn't want it anywhere near my 6 scale collection, because my OCD would just drive me absolutely up the wall. I would need it to be on its own, in its own territory, and have its own kind of display. So this will be a significant pass for me unless it goes like 50% off. And then if I were to buy a quarter scale, it would have been a Dark Knight, or it would have been that Vader that we saw a year or two ago, because I love Vader as well. And in quarter scale, either of those I think would have some pretty serious presence for like a movie room or a man cave or whatever. So
Yeah. And Ben, I may surprise you and everyone on this one. I told Kiko this when this dropped. I was like, I'm actually considering this piece, but I am damn sure not going to pay full price for it, because I know, we all know, all of us, I think, in this chat have been around long enough to know almost every quarter scale hot toy gets significantly discounted, like significant. Even the Spider-Man with the vault, that's a really cool base. The Vulture base, that thing was just the other day, maybe today, even 30-40% off. Pop culture has been trying to get rid of if Mandalorian quarter scale can't sell, then this can't. This can, in a way that they're not going to have to discount it. But I'm going to wait and see, because I have the quarter scale Queen Studios Joker, Ben, and I think this would be a pretty cool companion piece to that.
that would be pretty cool.
So I'm going to
Cool.
consider it, but I'm going to wait for a heavy discount and make the decision. That said, Kiko, what do you think? We talked about this a little bit in Tennessee, but now over our live
Correct.
stream, how are you feeling?
Yes. Let's work through this list here. Is it a hit? No, we know that for sure. Is it a miss? I think it's been executed well, with a few exceptions. If you have a quarter scale figure, if you've held quarter scale figures, you know how cool they are, and most of them are executed fairly well. I'm not a big fan of this sculpt. I think they could have done a lot better, especially because the canvas essentially is so much better. They could have done a lot more. Is it irrelevant? That's what I think it is. Now, remember that the Dark Knight was the first quarter scale figure ever 10 years ago. 10 years ago. So it was due for a refresh if you really, really wanted one. But much like the DX19, the proportions are a little bit better than the DX12. But I don't think it's I'm going to drop another 700 because I get some light up eyes now. I don't think that is worth it to a lot of people. To some, maybe. I mean, I'm a big Batman honk as well. And I love the Dark Knight trilogy. But I've told you that I don't think I can continue to do quarter scales. I have 2 of them, Mando and Vader, but I'm not going to be getting any more. And as I continue to grow out my collection and things like that, those are probably going to be the ones that start to leave first because they just take up so much real estate. And the presence is cool. I'm not going to lie, man. They're really cool. But the real estate that it takes up, and I don't think they're worth it, unfortunately. I mean, that figure on that base is probably going to be almost 3 feet. 36 inches, probably. I'm not for sure what the final thing is, but that's a lot of room, man. That's a lot of room to give up. And that's just not for me. But I'm sure some people are happy, but yeah, I don't think anyone is saying, oh man, I can't wait for my invoice to come because I can't wait to get this one right now, full price, because I've never seen one, like you said, not discounted. Now there's some on the aftermarket, like the endoskeleton, is pretty fairly desirable. And I mean, even those Iron Men they're just, the price point is just so high for them that most people said for that amount of space you're covering and that much money, I'd rather get 2 Hot Toys.
What's it like for you to
Ben.
pose quarter scale now, since you've had them in your hand? Like, is it awkward? Do you like it more? Like,
they're all ratcheted, so the whole thing is ratcheted. So you feel like you can do a lot more, which is great. But even my quarter scale Mando, it looks cheap because I got the Beskar one or the Chrome, whatever you want to call that. Just looking at it, it looks cheap, and I don't like it, and it irritates me every single time. When the base of a figure is more cool or is cooler than the actual figure, I think that's a problem because the Mando base is phenomenal. He comes with the E-web and everything. It's phenomenal. It's got the IG-11 head on there, incredible. Even the light up base for Darth Vader is really cool. It comes with the Sebastian Shaw head, very cool. The presence of the figure is great, but when the base is better than the figure, I think that's a big problem, in my opinion.
And that could be argued for this Batman, Kiko. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would love that base and then maybe put like literally a 6 scale figure on top of it. And I think it would look really, really cool.
Right. And this is tough because, I mean, I'm looking at the poll results. 87% have said, now it's down to 85, but 85% said this is not worthy of a pickup. And I think that's pretty indicative of how the collecting community, at least as far as these chats go and these live streams go, feel about quarter scale figures. I think the quarter scale figure has to be truly exceptional for people to really go for it. I just think most people, so because the problem I think, Ben and Kiko, is if you're going to go into quarter scale, at that point, you're starting to dip into the statue community. And at that point, the statue community are not going to pick a hot toy. They're going to pick a statue. And 1/6 collectors don't really want something typically quarter scale. So hot toys must have some advanced analytics, market analytics that show them quarter scale is somewhat profitable because they keep making them every now and then. But it doesn't seem like they do well in the States, at least. Like in the States, they're just like, nobody seems to really be lining up for them. Like you said, maybe Ben, like you mentioned, if there was a Bane quarter scale that was fully seamless and it looked like that 1/6, maybe you get people then because that would be exceptional enough for exceptional enough to get people's attention. But for sure, short of that, this is a sized up DX19. This is what this is.
Yeah, so exactly what it is. I think everything other than base is literally just a sized up version.
I missed who said it in the chat, but somebody mentioned the only quarter scale you should consider is an Ant-Man, and I totally agree. A giant man would be cool. Awesome. That could look so cool with all the different, like your 6 scale and then the little ones that they come with that newest Quantumania version. I could see that. But
I will say, I think this, as a figure goes, this is a really nice looking figure. Yes, I actually agree with Kiko. I don't like this head sculpt at all. I don't. I just think it doesn't look like Christian Bale. I think the DX19 head sculpt looks better. I'm not sure how that happened, but the DX19 head sculpt looks more accurate to me, although that one's not perfect either. But with the cowl on, this looks great. This looks
I like my DX12 head sculpt better than the DX19. But
fair.
I know that's a hot topic. There's a lot of people like,
I agree with you. I feel like some of these, I feel the exact same way. I feel like some of the recent Bale things have regressed. I think the best sculpt and everything is the Armory Batman overall. I
Agreed.
think that's the
They
best
are
Batman
very-
version
Yeah.
out there.
Well, that's why I'm, you know, I know Kiko and I don't agree with it. I'm waiting for In Art Batman because it might be 3 years, but, you know, I'll wait for the Christian Bale Batman and see what they're going to do with that. So,
For sure. One last point.
Yeah,
I
what's up?
think if there wasn't such an oversaturation of 6 scale and like just collectibles recently, like
Yep.
if we were only seeing a handful of items come out every year, The Dark Knight is easily one of my favorite trilogies of all time, if not my favorite. So this definitely would have been more of a consideration, but because I've got so many wants this year, like so many wants, and then I have random days like today where I just go and treat myself to a Bo-Katan. It's like I can't justify bringing another Batman into the collection. I have to be strategic. And as cool as I think that this is, it's easier for me to pick it apart because I'm trying to convince myself that I don't want it, rather than the other way around. And so yeah, it can sound like we're critical. I'm surprised you don't like the head sculpt though. I don't think it's bad, and I would say that the cape on this one still looks better than any of the cape offerings that we've had on some of the previous Batmans, especially when it comes to Hot Toys.
yeah, that's fair. But I mean, I think you're onto something, Ben, insofar as there's a lot of options out there for people right now, and this is just not a priority for people. Like that's, you know, they'll get the DX19. You know, that's been one of the best sellers for a while now. People be like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I got the DX19. I'm good. You know, they don't and like Kiko said, if you don't already have quarter scale figures, this is going to be out of alignment with what you have. So I don't know, something to think about. So for me, it makes sense, but I'm not paying retail for it because I don't need to. Like it's just, you know, it's going to be discounted, unfortunately. But yeah, interested to hear that. And like I said, the poll results, I'm going to end it now. 86% said no, this is not worth a pickup. So I think that pretty much tells you where people are at with this one.